By the time we get back to the room that night, I'm exhausted. There was so much that I had missed out on in the first few months of the year, especially elemental magic. I remembered watching the seniors spinning fire at the Thunder Dance, but apparently I had missed that important lesson, and we required Potsdam's explicit approval to practice spinning fire outside of class. In that case, I was doomed, although Virginia hinted that Jason might be willing to help me out. I wasn't sure if that was necessarily better, since Hieronymous and Jason didn't quite get along, but Hieronymous was no longer here, and I knew that Hieronymous always put my education above his animosity with the other teachers. I'm about to go to bed when I notice that I have a letter and quickly recognize Hieronymous's stylized cursive. Dear Tori, do you know one of the things that I miss most about you? The way you yawn and cuddle into my chest in the mornings. I love watching you on the verge between sleeping and waking, when you're not fully awake yet, but you just know, instinctively, that I'm close by, and yet you want to get closer. I know you're not beside me now, and yet I find myself sleeping with my hand around our amulet, so your heartbeat is the first thing I can feel when I wake up. It's not the same, and I would do anything to feel close to you again. Even if it's only for a few weeks, the seconds I'm away from you feel like years. I hope that you are doing well. I hope that your return to classes has been free of student drama, that your friends are supportive, and that Potsdam has been leaving you alone. Know that I am always here to lend an ear if you need me, but you have handled every challenge put before you with remarkable strength and maturity so far, Tori, and I have no doubt that you will continue to impress me now. Yours always, H. I can't help but sit there and grin down at the letter, reading it over and over again. Hieronymous was definitely getting more romantic. I didn't think that it was possible to be any more in love with him, but it seemed Hieronymous was working just as hard to impress me as well. Tori, what are you reading? Virginia asks. You've been staring at that letter for like 20 minutes now. I just grin as I stare down at the letter, and she stands behind me as she tries to read over my shoulder. I try to jerk the letter away, but Virginia already has her hand on my shoulder to stop me. Wow, Virginia says. Like, wow, girl. All I can say is, wow. What? Becky asks as she climbs into her bed. What's it say, miss? Who's it from? It's from her devoted, loving husband, letting her know how much she is missed, Virginia says as she plops back down on her own bed. I can't believe I'm saying this, but you're actually starting to make me jealous. I pause for a moment as I finally set down the letter and turn to face her. I'll stop talking about him if it bothers you. Nah, it doesn't, Virginia says quickly as she flips over onto her stomach. At first I thought I was happy being single, but now I feel like it might be nice to just have someone, you know? I nod. Honestly, it is nice having the support sometimes, but there was also a lot of drama between me and Hieronymous last year that really impacted my classes. Think about what happened between Ellen and Donald. Relationships can be good, but they can also be super dramatic and stressful. I hear that, Virginia says as she turns to Becky. Have you ever had a boyfriend? Oh no, not me, Becky says with a quick shake of her head. Can't remember the last time I've ever seen a boy before I came here. There was the one boy who came to visit you, miss, but he wouldn't glance twice at a girl like me. I raise an eyebrow. You mean Lavinia's brother? Ooh, is he hot? Virginia asks, and I just shrug. He's conventionally attractive, I say at last. He has super piercing blue eyes. He's definitely a lot hotter than Lavinia is, but then again, they do have different mothers, so... Virginia stares me down. That seems to really bother you. I shrug, but when it's clear I'm not going to say anything, Virginia continues. I mean, I'm not judging. It just is kind of weird. Apparently, most magical couples aren't actually monogamous. Look at Pastel and her mom. Well, maybe I'm just a spoiled brat and I don't like sharing, I tease. Hieronymous is mine. I am his. We were each other's firsts. We have a bond. I don't want other people to get in the way of that. But what happens if you can't have kids, miss? Becky asks. You don't think he'd leave you for someone else, would he? Do not even say that to her, Virginia says as she rolls her eyes. It's going to make her freak out. I'm not going to freak out, I snap at her, but it is a valid concern for me. I was seriously injured during my duel with Damien, and I still haven't completely recovered from what happened to me. I never will. But Hieronymous needs to have heirs to carry on the Grabiner name. They've got to come from somewhere, and if they can't come from me, then I have to either be okay with him having kids with someone else, or worse, just let him go. Oh, miss, that sounds dreadful, Becky says with a sigh. Not going to happen, Virginia says as she shakes her head. Okay, so I don't really know many noble families, but I can't imagine that happening to anyone. It's how Lavinia was born, I remind her. It's why Miss Minchin is where she is now, Becky adds, and we both turn to look at her curiously. She blushes as if she said something she shouldn't have. Wait, what do you know about Miss Minchin? I ask her. Is just something I overheard while out cleaning one day, Becky explains. Miss Minchin used to be married to an earl, but they discovered she was barren. She couldn't have any young ones of her own, so her husband sent her away so he could marry her sister. Her father punished her by making her open up a school for young ladies to help raise young girls since she can never have any of her own. Wow, I say softly. That actually sounds really sad when you put it that way. No wonder Miss Minchin is so cruel to everyone. I pause suddenly. Not that that excuses the way she treated you, or anyone, but I can understand why she's so miserable all the time. It's a harsh life, miss, Becky agrees. You both are just full of sad stories, Virginia mopes as she rolls over and pulls her pillow underneath her stomach. But what did you mean when you said that you didn't recover from Damien's attack? I know you technically died, but you seem okay to me. You even recovered from Kia's curse pretty well. I did and I didn't, I reply at length. It's just something I'm not really ready to talk about right now. Sorry, Virginia, but I can't talk about it right now. Maybe later, okay? Virginia just nods. Yeah, we should be getting to sleep anyway. We have class bright and early tomorrow morning, and you still have to send a letter back to Grabby letting him know that his voice is like butter or something. Like butter, miss? Becky asks. I can't help but be reminded that 2 years ago, Ellen was sitting in that exact spot when she had given me the idea to write a poem comparing Damien's voice to butter. That had been so long ago. It's nothing, I say with a quick shake of my head. You should get to sleep too, Becky. I'll be heading to bed right after I finish this letter too. All right, miss. Night. Night all. As they both roll over to face their respective walls, I can't help but think about how many inside jokes that I had shared with Just, Virginia, and Ellen. They had become a part of our story, and now Ellen wasn't here to share them with us. It was almost strange that I felt like I missed Ellen more than my parents. I hadn't known her for more than 3 years, and yet I felt like we knew each other better than the very people that had raised me. Was it because of what we had experienced together? Was it our common kinship and magic that helped us feel so connected? I couldn't help but try to think of what inside jokes I had with my parents, and was almost surprised that I couldn't recall one. I knew when wild seeds left their old lives behind them, they often felt like it was harder connecting with people from their past, even their closest friends and family members. There were still wild seeds who kept those people in their lives, even after they graduated. but I would never be one of those people. Was it a good thing that I didn't really feel that impacted by my father's death? I didn't cry, but then again, I didn't cry when Ellen got expelled either. At least Ellen wasn't dead. She was still on this plane, hopefully making the best of her new life. Still, I felt that I should at least try to mourn her. I wanted to mourn her. I just didn't know how. Maybe that's just what grief was, a journey through a forest of new and changing, complicated emotions. If that was true, then I would never truly get over what happened to Ellen. But then again, at least that way I could be sure that she would never be forgotten. And that was all Ellen had ever really wanted.